Welcome to War Room Impeachment. It is Wednesday, the 30th of January, the year of our Lord 2020. We're live on Capitol Hill, just yards from where, in a few hours, we're going to reconvene on the question and answer session, which I thought was fantastic yesterday. Really illuminated a lot of things. Episode 143. We're live on the John Frederick Radio Network nationwide on Salem Radio. We're also on the streaming platform of the Trump Revolution. That's the America's Voice.news, which brings all the rallies of President Trump, and Newsmax TV, now in 70 million homes. Chris Ruddy and the team down in Palm Beach done a fantastic job. So we're live on all those platforms, plus a podcast that's over 1.7 million downloads today, Raheem.
Oh, that's a good question. I really want to be able to tell you 1.8. I'll get you
1.8.
Get you an updated figure.
So, On Fire, the only podcast, by the way, is on every other distribution platform. Raheem Kassam of UKIP fame, Nigel Farage's right-hand man, and also the communication strategist that brought you Brexit. And we're going to have more talk about that later today in the afternoon show. Jason Miller, who was the communication strategist for President Trump in the 2016 Come From Behind victory, also the Transitions Communication Director. Honored today to be joined by Congressman Johnson of Louisiana, and a rising star, chairman of the Republican Study Committee, which is kind of the internal engine that drives the policy side in the House. And we all know the House is everything. But more importantly, one of the rising firebrands that has come out of the House and done such a fantastic job in this impeachment process, really come up on the national stage. When the spotlight hits you, Jason, some people deliver, and some people, want to get a second chance. Congressman has really stepped up here and been a superstar.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've been very glad to see you out there battling on CNN and MSNBC and other networks. And I think that really goes to your communication skills, to be able to take it into the lion's den. So I want to go and kick things off right away. So we saw this morning, Today Show, the Chyrons are up, over by tomorrow. CNN's taking it to the extremist. We have to stop the orange man. Orange man bad. This is going to destroy everything. But at the same time, we see the Gloria Borgers of the world say momentum's all moving to Trump's direction. So things take us both inside and outside the room and kind of level set where we are right now.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Today's my birthday, so this is a great way to start it.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. We hope the finish is better than the start. If you start in the war room.
Yeah.
Vish, can you bring the cake out?
Yeah, please. No, Politico is doing a little feature on the birthday members, and they said, how are you going to spend it and with whom? I'll be in the war room, in a literal sense, with Trump's defense team. So it was not how I imagined this day going. But look, we inside that room, we feel really good about this. We also thought the Q&A session went really well for our side, and we thought, the whole delivery for the defense team was exceptional. We laid out the case. We didn't take the whole time. There's no point running the clock out. When the facts and the law are on your side, you don't have to do that. And my background was in federal litigation. I litigated religious liberty defense cases for 20 years in federal courts, high-profile stuff. And I made the comment in the media when we were done, when we rested our side, that I've been involved in this a long time. I've never seen a defense team perform as well and efficiently and effectively as this one did. Of course, we brought in all-stars, and we had the surrogate team in the war room going out, doing media and all that. It just has worked really well. And I think that, what we saw in New Jersey was a bellwether. I think that the size of that crowd.
When they camp out for 5 days.
Oh, my gosh.
It's bigger than a Springsteen concert.
And
right?
It's cold out there, right?
Right.
158,000 plus tickets requested. Look, the American people are on the side of the president here, and I don't care what the polling of the day says. I don't care what they say on MSNBC, CNN, or anywhere else. When I hear from constituents, Republican and Democrat, they say, get this over with and move on with the work of the Congress. And I think that's the sentiment.
But this is the thing, and one of the things about having the firebrands, and we're a little controversial here. The team did a great job, right? Pat Cipollone, Jay, we've known these guys forever. Mm-hmm. Pam Bondi stepped up. The Raskins. I mean, you had the guy from the president's law firm, just fantastic. However, we argued from day one. We needed you. We needed Jordan. We needed not just Meadows, but we needed Zeldin. Mm-hmm. We needed these guys that stepped up, but also had gone through all the testimony.
Right.
You know it intuitively. What do you think about? You guys did a great job on the surrogates. Would there have been anything you could have added? You think, in the process itself?
all of us were chomping at the bit. We all would have loved to do part of that oral argument, but I get the dynamics in the Senate. It's rarefied air over there, right? They don't want.
Is that true? Is that the way it really
that's
rolls?
the way they perceived. They don't want these rogue House members coming in and turning it into a circus, which is literally what they told the president. And we were involved since mid-December. Guys like Jim Jordan and myself and. We were going over routinely to the White House, working with Cipollone and the team, putting together the oral argument. And I was preparing over Christmas to make the constitutional arguments. Okay, they bring in Dershowitz. I'll yield to that guy. He's a real expert. But
you know, I love me some Dershowitz, but I would have liked to. Having a Southern boy from Louisiana make that, I think I would have done that.
Well, I would have enjoyed it. But look, that was the Senate. McConnell and company told the president, if you have House members on both sides, then it turns into a circus. Could it be more of a circus than it already is? But look, we yielded to that. I told the president, serve it at his pleasure and would do anything, nothing, or whatever. You know, we're team players. We want to get this ball over the goal line, and I think we're going to do that soon.
But you're from the House. You're from the House. You've seen Schiff and these guys up front, and you know if they control the gavel, if they have the speakership, they roll the way they want to roll. This is the argument we've been making. We understand there's a thing of getting on with this, the work of the country. They're not going to get on with the work of the country because the work of the country means wins for Donald Trump.
Right.
The curtain will come down tomorrow with a vote of an acquittal. They're already whining that this is a rigged system, it's unfair, no witnesses. They're going to start with Bolton. You, Jordan, and Zeldin are going to go back into the bear pit on Monday, my belief, and this thing starts, some version of this starts all over again.
Yeah, it does. I mean, they've already committed to that, and I think we might be right back here again. When the president wins re-election, it's going to be a rough ride for 4 years. Now, if we get the majority back in the House, which I think we've got a good chance of doing, that changes the fortunes for the whole country.
Big time.
Because
Big
we
time.
keep the majority in the Senate, I'm convinced. Donald Trump wins in a landslide. I really believe that'll happen. We get our majority back, those stars align again, we are going to run the table, gentlemen. And in RSC, you mentioned the Republican Study Committee. What we've done this Congress, since we're in the minority, we didn't downshift and wander in the wilderness. What we did was we realigned everything. RSC was created back in the early 70s to be the policy shop, the conscience, the intellectual arsenal of conservatism in the House. And so we have these working groups, task forces, working to produce our playbook. And it's about this thick so far. We're adding more chapters to it. When we get the majority back, we are going to begin running those plays on day one. We're not going to waste half the year like we did in 2017 because nobody thought that would happen for us.
And of course, we're here with Congressman Mike Johnson from Louisiana's 4th Congressional District, which includes Shreveport, northwest corner of the state. I want to ask you a question. Conservative media is on fire after Adam Schiff was completely in the mumble tank, unable to give a real answer about his coordination with the whistleblower. Are we ever going to be able to hold Adam Schiff or the whistleblower accountable here?
We owe that to the American people. We certainly want to do that. It's a big goal of ours. The guy has zero credibility. You can't believe anything he says on these topics. We know that there was close coordination with the whistleblower. I mean, the complaint was written with the assistance of Schiff's staff, and we're supposed to believe he still doesn't know who this person is. It's just laughable, and everybody knows it. The Democrats know it. His fellow managers at the table know it's not right. I'd love to put him under oath. If we were going to have witnesses, I'd like to call him first.
You would call Schiff first?
I'd love it. I won't get that final decision, and there's some strategy that'll go into that, of course. But look, he knows more about this and how it all came about. He engineered the whole process, as you all well know, and he's an essential witness. If I was trying this case under other circumstances, I would have to have him at that table.
Well, you can see when you guys started the first day and you had that montage, he went ashen gray, right? He does not like being put under the spotlight when he's not in control of the situation.
No, and I'll tell you some inside baseball. I was in the congressional gym this morning, and there's a lot of banter in there about how Rand Paul is upset because he wants to ask questions. I don't know which question, but there's some things going straight to who the whistleblower is in relation with Schiff. And it is alleged this morning that he's been given the stiff arm and not able to ask that question yet. So
when we come back, we're going to take a
today.
short commercial break. I want to go into that. It talks about questions yesterday and what's the process of actually when a question gets up there, what gets asked. We're going to come back with Congressman Johnson in a second. Raheem?
Yeah, we were talking about that on last night's show, and I spoke to some people after the show as well, and it appears that the Chief Justice is in fact blocking Rand Paul's question, which was very, very curious indeed. We'll see how that plays out because the intent is to ask more. I also want to give a shout out, given the fact that Matt Drudge is now on the record as saying his support for Donald Trump was 3 years ago, distancing himself from his support for the president.
In the Columbia Review of Journalism, the last time I looked that's the Cultural Marxist Training School.
That's absolutely right. I want to give a shout out to the aggregators out there who link back to War Room, not least the sites like whatfinger.com, Rantingly, the Bongino Report. We're also on Gateway Pundit every morning on your guy, Michael Patrick Leahy's
Michael
sites,
Patrick Leahy,
the
all the
Tennessee
Tennessees,
Star, and that
Ohio.
group. We're
yeah,
very
yes.
grateful to all of those. So make sure you're at warroom.org and following us on Twitter at warroom2020.
Okay, we're going to come back in a second with Congressman Johnson. It is episode 143. David Rifkin, the constitutional lawyer, at the bottom of the hour.
Bannon, Miller, Kassam. War Room, Impeachment.
On the John Fredericks Radio Network.
Live from Capitol Hill, just yards away from where the 45th President of the United States trial continues, the trial of the century, about the crime of the century, the coup against the 45th President Donald John Trump. Another historic day, the second day of question and answers. Episode 143 here on War Room Impeachment. Raheem, Jason, Steve, an honor to be joined by one of the firebrands from the House that made his mark in the run-up to this on the House side and is now one of part of the President's team, legal team, that is helping as being one of the major surrogates. Going into the lion's den of MSNBC and CNN, anybody that does two rounds with Jake Tapper, our buddy Jake Tapper, that's where you got to send Johnson in where it's the toughest. Put us in the room about today, particularly on the questioning. There's been, as Raheem said, there's some controversy about not just where the base wants to go, but how you lance the boil back to shift, back to the whistleblower, back to where the heart of this thing is. Not even the Bidens, because they did a good job on the Bidens, Pam and the team, but down to the heart of what this is all about, what you've seen up close and personal in the last couple of years.
Well, so really there's two venues going on simultaneously. There's the court, which is inside that room, the Senate chamber, and then there's the court of public opinion. And we're trying to handle both. Sometimes we fare better in the court of public opinion because we can control that narrative better. Inside the room, it's effectively controlled by one man. That's the Chief Justice, John Roberts. And so he controls the order of the questions and all of that. I think Leader McConnell is trying to do a good job sort of teeing up the questions as they go, but ultimately Justice Roberts has the say on it. So you've seen some of that kind of go off script, and I think this controversy that's brewed over Rand Paul not being able to ask this question is an important one. I was told this morning that he is going to get that question asked today, one way or the other. So there might be some fireworks today. We'll have to see.
I will stay on that for a second. I suggested on our show last night that why doesn't he just say, so on my way into the Senate today, I was talking to my friend Eric, who asked me a question about who the whistleblower is, but find a way to, but here's what I want to hear from you. Yeah. Inside the room, we have the actual questions, the Dershowitz drama, Romney, Collins, Murkowski, what they're pushing, Schiff being in the mumble tank. But then outside, to that point of the court of public opinion, you have the Bolton drama that's going on. I think Bolton's team's completely hurt their case with the additional leaks. I think this top secret information is damning. In the video, when Trump tweeted out game over, it is beyond game over. John Bolton is decimated. I want your take, though, on how you're doing the actual pushback, given both dynamics.
Well, we have walked a fine line. I don't know that we need to go torch, John Bolton. I think his own words and the inconsistency does that for itself. So that video is it was warm and cordial, the warm and cordial conversations. And that video was filmed, I think, August 28th. So, the timing of this doesn't look too good for the author of the supposed expose. So I thought the NSA letter that was received, I don't know if you saw the chyrons on CNN and MSNBC yesterday, but they just blew this up. Trump has told him he can't publish his book. This is standard operating procedure, right? That you can't have national security secrets.
It's got to be vetted.
Right. And everybody does it, every author. You know how it works. So they're trying to make much ado about nothing. I think by the time this is done, Bolton has very little credibility.
But Congressman, this is what I don't understand is that to lance the thing of boil, what we ought to do is push to have him and have guys like you and others cross him. Right,
well,
the best thing in the American judicial system is being able to cross a witness. Right, now he's got a free venue. You put Mike Johnson, Lee Zeldin, a couple of three of these guys in the House all over John Bolton. The president's case is game, set, match.
I would love to do it, right? And so I have two minds on this, and maybe you guys have struggled with the same, maybe not. I don't know, but I would
We're
love
one
to
mind.
have-
We're of one
Okay,
mind.
you're
on
of
this.
one mind.
You're the harder. These are the dead enders, right? We're the
So-
guys that are cheering you guys on in the House every day.
As much as I would love to cross-examine some of these witnesses and bring them in and do the whole thing, and I think part of the president's instinct is to do that as well.
You think?
Right?
You
Okay,
think?
Right. But so, as much as I would love that, I would, when he was saying the other day he would come and sit through the proceedings and stare shift, and I would
so
love
genius.
that.
It was so genius.
I was asked about that on I think on Fox News, and I said, well, I would love that personally. As one of his lawyers, I would have to say, so I'm wearing two caps. So as the attorney, I would love to cross-examine. As a citizen of this country, somebody who cares about our republic and is worried about the aftermath of all this and what lies in the wake of it, does it behoove the country to drag it out for another few months? Because it really would go that long.
Let's talk about the aftermath, because this is what Dershowitz was saying, and the media's playing
Sure.
that we want to go back to a supreme executive, king-like power. Step back for a second with your career in concert. Where does this, forget the whole Trump and the Trump movement fight, constitutionally and as a republic, what do you think the House did? Where do we leave this as it goes forward if they vote for acquittal tomorrow?
Professor Turley was our only expert that we were able to bring in on our side, and he, by the way, is not a Trump supporter and is a Democrat.
No.
Okay, so his testimony was very compelling. He said, "I'm here for the Constitution, nothing else." And he explained, and we've been echoing this all the way through, and I was saying it before he got there. You cannot use abuse of power. This is Professor Dershowitz's argument at its core. You cannot use abuse of power as a standard for impeachment because you open a Pandora's box. And so, I mean, every president from now on,
It's too
guys,
broadly defined.
too broadly
And
defined.
the framers knew that.
They knew that, and that's why they warned against it. They said never have a single-party impeachment, for heaven's sakes, because that'll divide the country. But in any scenario, you can't use this amorphous criteria. Every president since George Washington would have been subject to one of these charades if that were the standard. And so now that Pandora's box has been opened, how do we close the box? Because as I told there's a few moderate Democrats left in the House. They're down in their bunkers right now, but we have a lot of friends on the other side, and I say, think about what you're doing. What happens when there's a Democrat in the White House, heaven forbid, and we have the majority in the House? My base is going to demand that scalp, and if I don't go after it, they're going to say I've gone to Washington and gone soft, right? And I'm intellectually consistent because we have the burden of doing that as Republicans and conservatives, constitutionalists. And I'm going to say that's not what the founders intended, and they're going to say, all right, well, we'll go find a firebrand who will, right? This is where we are, this tribal politics from here on out.
The factionalism that the framers warned against. A couple minutes left. Walk the audience through what should they look for today?
So today you'll see the rest of this Q&A. It'll go another 8 hours, I think, is left on the clock. And I don't know that we're going to get into any new territory, but maybe we'll be able to clarify a few things.
Did Dershowitz surprise you guys yesterday with particularly the constitutional guys like yourself on his arguments?
I didn't see that coming, and I think some of this is off the cuff, and none of it is rehearsed, right, on that. Which
That's code for you don't want to do a new argument in the middle of the thing.
right.
Maybe we run this by some people.
Right, he's a preeminent scholar, and what are we going to say?
And is that a little bit of a buried lead there? Because on the Democrat side, literally in their opening, the first question is like, Adam Schiff is, well, I didn't know you were going to ask that. Can you hit slide 2
Right.
and play
No,
video
right.
4
Well,
to play
Nadler
that?
is reading his responses. I mean, he's got a notebook. They hand him a script. I mean, come on. So that's where we are. I don't know that any new information comes out. I think most of the viewership is tuned out by now. Fox isn't even running. They put it in a small screen sometimes. They're not even running it live anymore. We got to get to this motion to acquit, and not a motion to dismiss. Not another. We have to acquit the president so that this is not hanging over his head.
And you believe Friday or Saturday we'll do that?
I do believe that.
And get on with it.
Yeah.
Congressman, thank you very much for joining us.
I just have
Yeah.
one quick question as well, following up on that Rand
Yeah.
Paul point. Do we know of any other questions that have been nixed so far, or is it just that one that we know of?
That's the only one I know of. There may be one or two others, but we probably would have heard about it in the gym this morning.
There's a lot of people that were excited about. Yeah, go ahead, because I want to how to get information on him, his Twitter feed, all that.
Yeah, and this kind of ties in with
Yeah.
that. Doug Collins leaving the House to go run for the U.S. Senate. That means there's going to be a new chairman of the Judiciary Committee the next cycle. I think we do win back the House. Is that going to be you?
People have talked to me about it, but I would always defer to my buddy Jim Jordan. He's earned it. He's been there longer, and if he wants it, then I'll support him.
How do people get more? There's a lot of excitement about getting you on the show today. How do people find out more about you?
Yeah, thanks. My handle's Rep Mike Johnson, and Facebook, Twitter, and all that.
Congressman, you're a real warrior.
Thank you.
People remember this. Okay, we're going to take a break. David Rifkin, the great constitutional lawyer, is going to join us. Raheem, how can people get to all that? Access in Johnson's interview today.
Yeah, we'll make sure we have all the details, the social media details on our site at warroom.org and on our Twitter feed at War Room 2020. In fact, I think they already are.
David Rifkin will be joining us next on the Constitution.
War Room Impeachment. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Live from Capitol Hill, episode 143, 30 January, year of Lord 2020. Raheem, Jason, Steve, Congressman Mike Johnson, Louisiana, just departed. We're now going to be joined by David Rifkin. David, thank you very much. One of the top constitutional lawyers in town over at Baker Hostetler, and has been just fantastic with his op-eds. He's really driven the conversation here. The reason we want to have you on this morning, David, we appreciate you joining that. Our heads kind of, look, we're not lawyers, and we're certainly not constitutional lawyers, but our heads kind of blew up yesterday a little bit where Alan Dershowitz seemed like he was, I don't say winging it, but maybe, thinking up new arguments, which is not the way we normally think that trials progress, right? Are we, in knowing that we're not pros in this area, what happened yesterday with Dershowitz? And today the media is jumping all over it that we're bringing back in an era of a supreme executive. We're going back to pre-Watergate, right? To the imperial. What we're going back to is what they complained about in the 60s and 70s. We're going back to the pre-Nixon imperial presidency.
Well, let me say this. I happened to watch most of the questions and answers yesterday. I thought Professor Dershowitz did a pretty good job. Look, it's not a question so much of winging it. If you're in a situation where you're presented with questions, you do your best to answer them, and you have to think in your feet, so sometimes it does not look perfectly polished, but I thought he did a good job. But the more important thing, it's not a question of who did what. At the bat, so to speak, yesterday, this whole argument is ridiculous. There are legitimate debates about the scope of the president's substantive power, and yes, there's been ebb and flow of that, and yes, following Watergate, there have been a number of restrictions, including the War Powers Act, that happen to think is unconstitutional, president's substantive powers. What we're talking about here is nothing like that. We're talking about, and the reason I had a sense of tremendous disquiet yesterday, look, the president is going to be acquitted. I think politically it's not going to help the Democrats. So the political side of this exercise, I think, is in good shape. There's going to be some political price to be paid by Senate Republicans, particularly in certain states like Colorado, Maine, hopefully not insurmountable problems. But the Constitution really is in jeopardy here. The arguments put forward by the House managers, all of them, but particularly Mr. Schiff, as to the proper contours, proper definition of high crimes and misdemeanors, as well as the process involved in impeachment. How does the House deploy impeachment power? What's the House's job? What's the Senate job? Are so outlandish. We're not talking about imperial presidency. We're talking about the presidency if it's a word of Congress. But it's completely at congressional mercy. Utterly alien to our Constitution. Something that the framers rejected with gusto. But more so, horrible situation, if that's in any way gets, doesn't even have to be endorsed by the Senate. It has to be decisively repudiated by the Senate. The silence on this issue is not enough. One final political point, even though I'm not a political pundit. While it's horrible for the Constitution, the presidency as an institution, it's going to be particularly debilitating for the Republicans, because the Democrats are much better at doing this kind of skullduggery. So this is not just about Donald Trump. They will, if they get away with it now, they will do it again and again and again to Republican presidents. And my sense is that, there may be an effort by, if there's a Democrat president and the Republicans control the House, they might try to do the same. I don't think they're going to do it nearly as well. So we're talking about constitutional debilitation and political debilitation.
Okay, we've got about a minute left. David, is there anything that needs to be cleaned up today by Dershowitz, and how would you ask that question to actually get it in play? What, if anything needs to be cleaned up, what's the question you would ask?
Well, I would make 2 points. A, that we need to decisively push back on the notion that the Chief Justice somehow can dispose of witness-related questions, materiality, credibility, et cetera, et cetera. The Chief Justice is not sitting there as a judicial officer. The framers specifically rejected, given the Supreme Court the authority to deal with impeachment issues. Point number one. Point number two, Republicans need to push back against this idiotic notion, to me as a lawyer, idiotic, that you need to have witnesses, otherwise it's not a fair trial. I can assure you that most trials in this country at federal and state level never have any witnesses. And the issue here is not whether or not, also in some ideal context, it would be nice to have witnesses. To give witnesses here, given the horrible process, the botched job that the House has done, would assure that they'll do it again and again and again. So this would be the new scenario. You have a botched up impeachment process in the House, no due process of any kind. You throw it in the Senate and expect the Senate to fix it for you. Very, very bad, very dangerous, and it needs to be pushed back very hard.
David Rifkin from Baker Hostetler. David, thank you very much for joining us. We're going to get that up online right now. Thank you, sir. Raheem, how do people get access to Congressman Johnson and David Rifkin's all this great content we're generating today?
Yeah, warroom.org is the website, and if you're also interested, by the way, in the War Room pandemic content, it's pandemic.warroom.org. We have the clips going up on the show after we get off air. You can follow it on YouTube. Also, if you want to hear the great interviews of like David Rifkin just now, it's YouTube and search for War Room Impeachment.
Pandemic will follow this hour. We got Dr. Hartfeld in the studio, 3 seconds until midnight.
Bannon, Miller, Kassam. War Room Impeachment.
On the John Fredericks Radio Network.
Episode 143, we're live from Capitol Hill. Got a little, I guess we're playing 3 shows at the same time. All in, at least in my ear. Raheem, you got some breaking news this morning. By the way, people don't realize this. Raheem is now doing dawn patrol on local and regional radio, because that's the Washington Post had that great story about the one and only John Fredericks, right? That, you know, ever since this show started on the John Fredericks Radio Network, John Fredericks is our co-producing partner. John Fredericks has gone from playing the small rooms, he started as a lounge act. Now he's a headliner, right? He's got that big wet kiss of the Washington Post. That John Fredericks and the regional radio is everything, which is true. This is the secret we
make stars here. I mean, look at the guests. Look at the guests that come on here. Now they're blowing up.
Debbie Lesko, Mike Braun. I mean, because guess what? We know how to pick the talent.
Mike
right?
Braun back tomorrow morning.
Senator Mike Braun back tomorrow morning. Okay, so
Not just the Dawn Patrol, by the way, but late last night on the Ed Martin Show in San Diego as well at 10 p.m. Up early this morning to do the Tara Show in South Carolina. That's one of my favorite.
By the way, the Ed Martin
appearances.
Show. It started in St. Louis. It's now in San Diego. It's the next stop Hawaii.
Yes.
Is it, or Guam? Is
Wuhan.
Ouch. Okay.
My favorite appearance so far on the local radio circuit has been the Tara Show. Can I play you a clip as to why?
By the way, Tara is always a cutting edge. She's from South Carolina. Worked with her for years. Fantastic, huge piece of manpower. Inside baseball down in South Carolina.
She knows her stuff.
Yeah.
Gonna jump on the line with Raheem Kassam of the Brexit fame. Yes, the genius who argued the British people into breaking with the EU. Now does a podcast I'm addicted to called War Room. I feel like I'm talking to a rock star, Raheem. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You know what? Can you and I just keep a secret? Can you not tell Steve Bannon this? Just between us and maybe 30,000 other people. I like your analysis better than Steve Bannon's. I think you're so on the mark with your analysis of impeachment, and a lot of what I bring to the show comes from listening to you guys duke it out on.
Wow.
Okay, first off, Tara, I'm making an observation. Tara has been a rock star down in South Carolina. If you want to know what's going on, why has she copied Dana Loesch's voice? This is not the Tara I know. Tara, it doesn't work, okay? He plays the thing, I go, you're on the Dana Loesch show? I mean, the hater of all haters? Tara, what happened to the voice? Don't lose your original great voice, that Dana Loesch. And so here's the other thing. I am playing devil's advocate. Rockstar Raheem.
Co-host of the Tara Show. the Tara and Raheem Show in South Carolina. Come on, guys.
Go ahead. Keep going.
No, I wanted to go back.
I'm going to give you, obviously, more airtime now, just to make sure Tara's not ripping on me.
I wanted to go back to something that David Rifkin just said, and
Yeah.
there's a couple of things David Rifkin just said in the last segment that really pricked my ears up. One of them being his broadside against the Chief Justice John Roberts on this whole question thing, this Rand Paul question thing, because I think, it's these small things that are making this whole thing still interesting, right? It's Adam Schiff still using "do me a favor" instead of using "do us a favor." I think that's very important. This is also an important moment, and what David Rivkin said just there, gentlemen, about the Chief Justice is not supposed to act in the way he's acting, not supposed to be filtering out questions from senators, right? The Constitution is clear that the Senate gets to try this case. He can't sit there and go, you only get to kind of try it, or try it in the verbiage that I choose.
But he is the presiding officer. You don't think the presiding officer has that right to be something that's screened for what the presiding officer thinks should be the decorum?
Look, if they're getting up there and, the question is, hey, what time is, Powerpuff Girls on the Cartoon Network tomorrow? Fine, you can screen that out. It's not germane. It's not relevant
or
to
you're
the
the
case.
timekeeper to say, hey, we really went 8.5 hours last night, so you only have 7.5 today.
Right, but
nothing meaningful. Okay, so what happens when they come down to a tie? What happens tomorrow when they come down to a tie on a bunch of these things that are going to be 50-50? What's going to happen?
Well, if it comes down to a tie, then we're screwed.
Why do you say
because
that?
Justice John Roberts is clearly showing that he's going to side with the Democrats on this. The way that he's not allowing Rand Paul to ask a simple question.
You think that's the tell?
I think that's, well, and also take a look at where he went on Obamacare. I mean, there's a whole host of other things where there's some real red flags that are come up on Justice Roberts. I mean, keep in mind.
Wasn't he going to be the conservative that saved us?
No, he was going to be the conservative that smiled and had a nice disposition. That was the media headline. I'm not saying that to try to ding the guy. I mean, that's what they said. Oh, he seems nice. He has a nice smile. He has a nice personality. Let's make him Chief Justice.
Doesn't this show also that even with McConnell not forcing this, is that this thing's just going to, we're not going to get to the heart of this case here. We're not going to get to the heart of the trial of the century. And you've got Bolton, you've got Anonymous, you've got John Kelly, you've got all this brewing around there, this kind of storm clouds. They're not going to go away. An acquittal vote tomorrow is not going to do it. This is what, and I think the president and the people at the White House got to focus on the fact that one thing is that a quick and dirty just to get out of here is not going to end it. They don't even want you to really ask any probing questions that Rand Paul can ask about the whistleblower, right? About Shift, about these relationships. I actually thought the question, to me, the best part of this whole thing has been the question session yesterday. I thought it really illuminated many of the points they had to go back and defend on their feet, right? And this is why I think it could be very powerful for making the case the president hasn't been allowed to make. The one thing I disagree with Congressman Johnson, I would have taken all 24 hours. I think the president's case needs to be gotten out there. Today, those questions, to me, should be put before his defense team to solidify in this final 8 hours that, including to get down to the heart of it. And I'd have 10 questions on Shift. I'd put that guy on the spotlight, right? Because he's going to go back to work on acquittal. If they acquit on Friday, you guys tell me. They're going to jump back at it immediately.
You really took that Tara analysis comment to heart, didn't you?
No,
you
now I'm becoming a
the whole thing.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to know.
She rattled me.
I want to knocked you back into line. I want to know how you can have potentially the whistleblower as a witness if you can't even ask a question with the name of the whistleblower. Is he supposed to appear with a bag on his head with a question mark on it?
This shows you how wimpy we are, though. I mean, we can't. It's he who will not be named, right?
Lindsey Graham.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the pivot here. Lindsey Graham, if you're listening, you need to announce today that we're having hearings next week.
Monday.
That's
If we
what I'm
quit
saying.
Friday, Monday. Monday.
We're having our man Eric.
The president's believed you. He bought into it. Let's do it.
We're bringing them all in. We're bringing Shifty Schiff in. We're bringing Hunter. We're going to call Joe. We're going to have the
Man, you're
whistleblower.
on fire.
We're having them. And here's the thing, because guess what Schiff's going to do as soon as they bang the gavel on Friday?
They're back to work on Monday.
They're back to work.
They're working all weekend. They're going to have another thing. This is going to be
New
Bolton.
articles of impeachment.
On Bolton.
Lindsey Graham, announce it today. We're starting Monday with the whistleblower, and whistleblower number 2 disappeared. Buckle up.
Okay, we're going to be back in a moment with episode 143 to continue this conversation and show Tara I'm on point.
Bannon, Miller, Kassam. War Room, Impeachment.
On the John Fredericks Radio Network.
Episode 143. Okay, in this questions, is Mitt Romney trying to be a wise guy? And Collins, you can tell by the quality question, she's asking the House manager. She's actually trying to get answers. You can tell, you can kind of see inside her mind what's weighing on her. Is Mitt Romney trying to do that? Or is he being a wise guy?
Absolutely, he's trying to be a wise guy. And I think that question on the specific date that Ukraine aid was delayed, or when did the president, when's it in his head, when he'd actually make that decision? And Atticus Philbin stumbled around a little bit on the answer. I think that
Atticus Philbin, he's been a star up until then.
he's
right?
been a star. And when he goes up there, just
Yeah.
to be clear, I have confidence. Like, okay,
Big time.
you know what? Like,
yeah.
don't send the B teamers.
Right,
When he
right.
goes up there, I'm like, this is Yale, this is Harvard, this
Right.
is every other degree he has. But here's the thing: you take an answer like that, and you can easily point to all the like the Washington Post story, talking about the OMB research after President Trump read the Washington Examiner story, and then he started going into that. Say, well, it's public record that a month and a half before he was concerned after reading this article about how money is being misspent in corruption. So sometimes you don't have to answer that question so literally, because keep in mind the audience isn't just in that room; it's around the planet.
This is a critical 24 hours now for these on the fences, right? Jason, should people be calling the Capitol switchboard, be leaving messages at the senators' desks?
Yeah, so 202-224-3121. That's 202-224-3121. Call up and ask for Mitt Romney. Call up and ask for Lisa Murkowski. Call up and ask for Susan Collins. And then do it again and again.
Did the President of the United States endorse Mitt Romney?
He did.
Oh, we have to go, guys.
I'm just throwing that out there. Right? I'm just throwing it out there. Gotta, I think maybe do a deeper dive on people maybe before you endorse. Just saying. Right?
Yeah,
'Cause
Romney's not being helpful. I mean, this is
stop.
a specific effort.
You're being very kind. Okay, you're being very
No, he's
kind.
trying to kill him.
He's trying to kill him. Let's
Yeah.
be brutally frank. And this is what the base has to understand, all the Trump followers, is that Romney is so bitter that he is not president of the United States. He's so bitter. He detests everything Trump stands for. He detests the deplorables, right? This is not a search for truth for this guy. He's trying to get payback, right?
Tonight, you're going to see President Trump have a big, huge rally in Iowa. He's going to Michigan, talk USMCA, and then big rally in Iowa.
So great. It's like trolling the thing for the.
You could take every rally that Mitt Romney did in 2008, 2012, combine them all together, wouldn't even get the size of what President Trump is going to have tonight in Iowa.
Okay, Raheem, how do people get to all this great content?
Yeah, warroom.org is the website. We're up to nearly 1.8 million downloads on the podcast right now. It really helps us if you share it with your friends, send them an email, send them a text, leave a review on Apple, iTunes, Google Play, whatever it is you use to download and listen to this show. Share it with your friends and tell them to subscribe. The more subscribers we get, the higher we get in the iTunes charts. The higher we get in the iTunes charts, the more downloads we get. So we're very grateful for all of you guys out there who are our street team and working to get war room impeachment into more people's ears.
And tonight we have David Drucker from the Washington Examiner
Yeah.
in studio. You want to know what's going on from these
Yeah.
senators? David's going to have it tomorrow morning. Senator Mike Braun and brilliant Bill McGinley
Yeah.
back in studio.
Yeah, Drucker's a huge piece of manpower. Honored to have him on. Okay, Dr. Hatfield, we're going to go to pandemic, the most important story in the world outside the impeachment. Next on The War Room, Dr. Hatfield's in the house.